Okay, well, let's get started. All right, so anyway, so welcome. Here we go. Great. Is this for me?
Yes.
Is this for me too?
Yes.
Two.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you. No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're good. Thank you very much. Wow. Okay, we're good. We did it. Thank you for coming, everybody. Have a good day. My name is, you can see, Charles Guarino. I prefer Charlie. That's good. This is my 4th time in Paris this year, and the 3rd time in this actual room. So I'm very happy to be here. So thank you very much. I grew up in New York City. That's where I'm from. I will be happy to speak with anybody about New York. If you have any questions, I can. If you're going there, I can help you arrange a trip. I can do all these great things in New York. But I know that's not why you're here today. So let's get started with the presentation. So one thing I want to talk about is modern development. This is a big deal. Modern development is where we are. This platform is one of the most, if not the most, modern systems being used today. Sadly, a lot of people, although I should say not a lot of companies are still using this platform as an old computer, an AS400 or even older than that. I still have customers in New York, for example, and other places in the United States that are still using it as System 36. And I'm not joking. And we call it AS400 mode, System 36 mode. And that's a problem to me because they're not getting the full benefit. They're running these Power 10 systems and not getting the full benefit of the machine. So I talk about development all the time, and I feel that one of the biggest problems that I see out in the field is not so much, this is a roadmap to development, to modernization. And the first step we talk about all the time is modernizing the developer. This is important, very important. So these are the other steps that these are 4 basic steps to finally digital transformation. So we get into modernizing the developer, and then modernizing infrastructure, getting us into CI/CD, into a Git world, and then modernizing an application. We talk about that. And finally, once we have our application modernized to today's standards, then we can go beyond today and talk about the newest things, emergent things like AI, things like that. But we're here to talk about tooling today. Let's get started. I mentioned that I'm going to talk about RDI and VS Code. So if you're looking at VS Code, if you're looking at RDI today, which is a completely viable tool, where you want to go is the RDI Developer Hub. This is maintained by IBM. I put the link on the bottom. And if you just go to Google and type in RDI Developer Hub, you will find this. And on this one website, you will find everything you need to know about RDI. Everything. How to download it, how to buy it, how to get licenses. There are also on here many videos on here, instructions, free videos on training, a lot of good information. This is the one-stop place you want to go. The same thing exists for code. Now, code is a little bit different because it's a 2-part install. When you first get code, you actually have to install VS Code first. And then you go to this site and you will download the extension. VS Code is, Visual Studio Code is meant to have developers add extensions to it. We are actually very lucky to have one of the main people who write on the extensions, Sebastian. He's one of the top contributors to this project. He's sitting in the room. And as far as I know, he's doing sessions later today or tomorrow, perhaps, a much deeper dive than I'm going to do on VS Code.
Yeah, but the VS Code hidden gems.
Hidden gems. Hidden gems. All right, so it's good. It's wonderful. Really good.
Should be, hopefully.
Yeah. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you some basic source code editing just to get you started and to show you that this is very doable. You can do this. I promise that by the end of these 2 days, today and tomorrow, I promise you'll be able to go home, go to your office, and start using either one of these tools. All right? It is not intimidating. You can do it. I promise. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch Okay, when you first fire up, when you first launch VS Code, the first thing you'll notice here is that we have this side over here. These are the active, these are the extensions that were added into the product. I'm going to come now in the bottom here to IBM I, which is not shown. I'm going to bring it up over here. IBM I. Oh, this is a little crazy. Here it is. This is IBM I over here. I'll click on it. Let's give it a second. All right, looks like I'm already connected, which is fine. I'm already connected. So what I have over here is I have different filters that I've created, different libraries that I have to my system. Close this. No, I don't. Oh boy, this is a little slow. Just give it a second. What I'm going to do is open up one of my source members here. I've created a filter. If you're familiar with SEU, you know that in PDM and SEU, one of the first things you have 1, 2, 3 options, and option 3 is work with members, and you have option 3, and it asks you for your source physical files, your library name, and the member name. That's a filter. That's what a filter is. This is exactly what I have over here. I have filters over here. So I've opened up I have a connection to my system. Here's QRPGLE source, as you can see over here. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to scroll down. Oh boy, come on, a little slow. Scroll down to this source member over here. I'm going to click on this and open up the source member. Hopefully it'll load. You can see that the response is a little bit slow here. So it's downloading the source code right now. There it is. And I'm going to just show you some basic things in the editor. Let's get started with the basic things in the editor. So you can see over here that I have my regular source code. You can see that it already is doing some nice indenting for me. It shows the code. And it understands, so does RDI. They both understand the languages, how the languages work. And what that means is that you can see that I have things in different colors here. This is a very good thing. So immediately, with doing nothing else, I have different colors. And that's important because it helps me quickly get a better and a deeper understanding of what's happening in the code before I have even done anything with the code. Just visually, it looks better than green screen, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, so with that, let me open up my presentation again and show you some of the things that I can do here. Let me open up my PowerPoint. They've done to me here. Oh. So I'll just show you some basic source code editing features and really the power of this tool. That's what I want to show you. So let's do this. Here's this. So the first thing I want to show you is, for example, if I'm just typing something, for example, I can just type in, for example, x equals % SUB, for example, and you can see immediately I get a window here that pops up. This is called Content Assist. It also exists in RDI, and what it basically does is it will show me all the different things that begin with this letter. For example, this is a built-in function in RPG, obviously. So I have %SUB or %S, and I get, as I type in more characters, it will keep limiting that. What's nice is that when I click on something right there, you can see what it does. It brings in the syntax of that instruction right into my code. So it helps me build my code very quickly. This is called Content Assist. It's a very, very powerful feature, and it works beautifully. I love it. Okay, another thing I'll show you, that's some basic editing here. Give me one moment here. I'm going to open up a different member also. Hold on, please. I'm going to do one more. It's a little easier to work with.
Does it also work with the variables?
Yes, it does. I'm going to show you something in a minute. Open up my. Give me one moment, please. I'll open up this member here. This is a little easier to work with. This is a much smaller member, but I can show things quicker for you. Give me a second, please. Here we go. All right. So some quick navigation here is I'm going to press F1 and just type in outline for outline. And notice that I get on the right side of my screen over here on the right side. This is what I call a 10,000 meter view of my source code. It understands all of the different parts of a program and how they all work with each other. And you can see what it does is it will show me my files that I have, if I have any files, my procedures, all my variables, everything defined. And what I have here is a very, very quick way to navigate in my code. This is called the outline view, and it's very, very powerful. It's a view that I like working with all the time. Again, I use it to quickly navigate, and I can quickly go up and down on my code and look for things. But if you already know some things, let's say, for example, I'm over here, and I see this field exit over here, right here, exit. So I just click on it, and any other instance lights up just like that, of course, which is kind of nice. But it gets even better because if I right-click on that, I can go down to peek, for example, and I'm going to peek the definition of exit. And what happens is it then opens up a little window in the middle of my screen, and this is I'm peeking, like peeking into a window. I'm peeking in, and it's going to show me the actual lines of code wherever I am, where that variable is defined. It's a very nice little window. So I'm peeking, which is I like that a lot. It's a nice little feature. And I can keep doing that. There are other places I can do that. So I can right-click again. I can peek, for example, and I can say, show me the references. And I get another window that pops up, and it's going to show me in a little window right in the middle here, all the lines of code where that variable is being used in my program. The code is editable also. It's editable, absolutely. Yeah, this is a very powerful feature, just to be able to go in and quickly navigate, change something very quickly. This is so powerful. And this is what modern developers are using, for sure. You sound like you use VS. This is a dangerous area. Yes. It's slippery, and it's wires, and it's you use this all the time? You don't? Okay. I use SEU. SEU, okay. Do you already see a difference?
Sure, yeah, obviously I also code in Java on modern.
You do?
Yeah, so I see the.
Already?
Yeah.
So that's a good, interesting point. You're using Java, you're using VS Code?
No, I use another editor.
Okay.
It's similar.
It's very similar.
Yes.
Because the nice thing about this is that you can probably do Java right in here as well.
Yes.
So once you understand the basic navigation, it doesn't matter what language you're working on. But that's a very important point.
So the picking works on most languages.
Yeah. Okay, so what else I want to show you here is I just lost my PowerPoint. Here's my outline, here's my code assist. This is a nice one. Watch this. This one I really like. This is called a linter. You know, one of the things I talk about refactoring a lot, source code refactoring. And source code refactoring, one of the big things about refactoring is to make my code more readable. That's a very big thing, is having code that's readable. And one of the things to help you read your code better is just to make it look more organized. You can put a set of rules on your code. For example, that if I have let's say I have a block of code with an if statement and some instructions and then an end statement, you can put rules in place that I can only indent 2 spaces, for example. So I have that here. So watch what I'm going to do over here. So I have my declared data structure line over here. You see that right there? I'm going to just come over here and just start hitting space. And you notice that what happens already is that I'm getting these lines that are popping up over here. And I'm getting these messages here. Let me close my outline. You can see what I'm getting over here. Look, it's saying incorrect indentation. I expected to but I found more than 2. So I violated one of the rules. This is called a linter, and there are many, many rules that you can put into your source code to make it look a certain way. For example, how the SQL should work. Do you want to allow joins, things like that. You can put all kinds of rules in here. Imagine if you first open up a brand new program that you've had, a new program that is doesn't have any rules to it, and you want to be able to make it look pretty right at the start to help you read, to enforce your rules. Well, what I'm going to do here is it's going to come over here, press F1 right at the top over there, and I'm going to type in format. And when I click on format and come up there, or you can see I have the shortcut on there also, the Shift Alt. But if I click on format, watch what it does. It's going to go through my code, and look what it just did. It just took my code and it put the rules onto my program. So my source program, even though it was messy, I just fixed a lot of these things on here, which is really nice. Now, if you want to see the actual rules, I pressed F1 again, opening up this window again, and I'm going to type in lint. You can see what happens, lint. And you see what I get on the top over here, and now says, RPGLE, open the lint configuration. These are going to be the rules that it's using right now. It's a JSON file. So give that a second. So what it's doing is it's downloading the rules that it's being imposed right now. Just give it a second. So the VPN is a little bit slow here, as you can tell. But these are some of the rules that you can impose on the source code. And you can see, for example, like in the top one, I have indent 2. That's the one that made the rule I just showed you. That was that one in action. But you can see, for example, I have other ones like don't allow global subroutines. Maybe that's a rule you have in your shop. Things like that, true, false. And you can see there's all different rules in here, and there are others you can put in there as well. Yeah.
That also works in previous version of RPG. Column 3.
Okay. No, no, you need to have free form. So, some of these fully free form. Some of the things I'm showing you here, you must have ** free in your program. That's a requirement. And that was a little bit of a push to get us there. Now, the good news is that there are several tools out there today that you can get to convert. If you have fixed format, there are tools that exist that will get you to this format. And I encourage you to do that because it just makes it so much more readable and nicer to work with. I mean, I think. All right, so we only have an hour, and I want to show you so much. So I'm going to just show you a couple other things here, and then we're going to move on to some RDI stuff. I'm going to show you another cool view over here on the bottom here. It says DB2 for I. Just a couple little things on here I want to point out to you. So it's going to open up the DB2. I don't want to see my changes. I want to do that. Okay, so what I have over here, my DB2, let me close this one too. Give that a second to close. A little slow VPN, you can tell. This computer, by the way, happens to be in New York, but whatever. Maybe that's why it's still sleeping, I don't know.
The IBMI also?
Sorry?
The IBMI also?
IBMI is in New York, yeah. So the IBMI is in New York, and so is the way I talk. It's the same thing. Maybe you can tell. Do I sound like a New Yorker? I don't know. Do I sound like a New Yorker? I can't get the French accent down. I try to speak French, but people look at me like I'm. All right, I'm just going to do a very quick select statement here. And you can see already what's happening here is this content assist is always active. So as I'm typing in an SQL statement over here, it's trying to anticipate what I'm going to type in and help me form. I'm just going to do a quick little select from. So here's a library encrypt. All right, so here's a just a you can see that it wants to do more. It wants to keep prompting me. I'm just going to press Control O. I want that to run. Oop, I didn't stop the, oh, you know what? My VPN dropped when they changed my, my connection here. Just give that a second. It has to reconnect. Give it 1 second, please. I promised you I had it all set up, but I was on the wrong network apparently, so I had to restart. So everything has to restart here. Just give that a second.
Yes, I have just a question.
Yeah.
What can I to install VS Code to work with VS Code? We must be installed some plugin on the
Yeah. So, oh no, on IBM system itself, or you mean here, my laptop?
No. On the IBM, yes, because with the archive provider, we have to install the VS Code, the plugin for
That's the same thing.
yeah, and install also some plugin on IBM.
On IBM, on the host system, on the main system? No, actually, I will tell you, for debugging though, there's a certain level of Java you need to have for debugging, but that's minor. There's nothing else you need to put in there, as far as I know, right?
For VS Code to run, you just need to have SSH running on Wi-Fi.
SSH, yeah.
Needs SSH, and yeah, Arcade, for instance, needs another sampler to install.
All right, so what I did was I started that other job that had to be running, and I typed in my SQL statement over here, and I pressed Control R to run that, and I got this beautiful statement over here, just like this. This is just a regular, there's nothing fancy about this at all. It's a regular SQL statement. But come back over here. I'm going to show you something pretty cool, though. This is what I really like. So while that's interesting, all I'm going to do now is just come to that select statement and type in JSON : and I'm going to press Control R again. And what it's going to do now is going to execute that same query, but it's going to give me that format back in JSON. And that to me has been very powerful, because we do a lot of work with trading partners doing an EDI, and they sometimes want to see data that we're sending them in JSON. This is a very powerful tool, and it's built in. You have it. If you do this, you can. I promise you, if you use this tomorrow, you can start seeing your data right in JSON. And of course, I can save this too. I can Control S and save this data. And if that's not even good enough, I can come back again to my JSON. I can change that. I can say CSV : select some encrypt. And you can see what it's also doing over here. So now I have my library name encrypt dot, and so what it just did was it went to my library or my schema, went to my schema, and it found all my table names. So that's what it's doing over there. So I can select it that. So again, it's just helping me do that. I'll press Control R. Oh, no, yeah, sorry. I see it. Sorry about that. Mistyped it. Look at that. And I get now the data in CSV format too, which is pretty nice. Yeah.
This process is run on the client or on the server?
It's running on the server.
The server.
Yeah. That's where the data lives. Yeah, of course. Pretty cool? Very cool. Applause? No. I did nothing. I'm just running SQL. But it's really neat. And this is one of the most basic features, and I can already see that how already this is extending what I can do as a developer, which is really amazing. A couple of things I'm going to show you here, and then we'll move on. So I have, for example, I have a schema browser on the top left, and I can look right in here, and I can take a look in here if I have any functions. But no functions in here. I don't really have a lot of information. This is a very small schema that I have over here. You can see that I can open up a schema browser over here, and it just gives me a little peek into what's going on to my database. Now I can certainly do some of these same functions using ACS. There's a schema browser in there, and I get a lot of similar information over here, which is very normal. The benefit in this particular case, this is something that I think code does better, is that I remain the word is I remain anchored in this application. I don't have to keep switching application. I remain anchored in here, which is pretty nice. All right, I want to switch over to RDI because I want to show you some things about RDI as well. Because I think we're running. How are we doing on time? We go till 12:15. I think. Okay, 12:15. We're good. All right, here's RDI. So I'm going to show you some cool things in RDI as well, because this is interesting. So if you're using green screen, this is going to come as a real nice feature. One of the things that people, even I know developers who are using RDI for a very long time, and they see this screen over here, and they're not seeing the full benefit of all the things this screen is offering. So for example, in RDI, this has been here, this remote scratch pad has been here for many, many years, and yet hardly anybody knows what it's for. So but it's so powerful, and once you start using it, I promise you, you're always going to want to keep using it. What this is the whole idea of both code and RDI is that they're trying to simplify how you're going to navigate your desktop and navigate on your system. So what this does over here is I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to grab this and just move it over here. All right, so now I have it over here. I just moved it. What this does is typically when I'm navigating in the same way in code, when I'm navigating up and down on the left side, if I have different connections, for example, in RDI, I can have multiple connections to my system, just like I have multiple green screens. And why I would have multiple connections is because I might have different user IDs, different library lists, things like that. I will tell you that in code, in VS Code, you don't have multiple connections like this. The way they get around that is a feature called profiles. I can have one active connection, but multiple profiles, and I can switch between my profiles, and that's how I get to have different user IDs and the different libraries, things like that. So it's done with profiles, but the same idea. What this is doing over here is instead of me having to go up and down in this tree over here every time I want to change something, I can just create a shortcut. I have this tree over here, and let's say, for example, like today, I want to work on, I don't know, I want to work on this connection. I want to work on my debugging session over here. I just drag it in there. And now I've dragged it up to my scratch pad. And now let's say also I come down and I know today, for example, I'm going to be working with the IFS. I can come down here. I can expand that, for example. Let's say I want to just work on this directory called JSON docs. I'm just dragging it in there. Now, all I'm doing is just giving me a nice little shortcut. And I can now, if I want, I can take this little window here, or they call it a view, and I can just push it to my second monitor. And this will now give me a quick way to navigate. And these are very active things. I can open up these. I can open these up, and they open no problem. And if I have documents in there, I can do whatever I want. So it gives me a very quick way. And by doing this, I don't have to keep going up and down on the tree over here. That's Remote Scratchpad. This has been here for 200 years. Can you imagine that? 200 years, no one even known about it. Was that funny? 200 years? All right. I don't know what's funny. Okay. All right. I'm going to put it back over here. And now I'm going to come over here and open up a source member. I'll show you some things over here about source code editing. What can I show you over here? Yeah, let's do this. All right, so I'll open up my source member over here. And the idea is just to give you a little flavor of what you can do. All right, it's downloading there's my source code. And now I have the same thing here that I had with code. I have the different colors. And by the way, that's called tokenization. That's what this process is called, tokenization. And tokenization means that it understands the tokens of the language, and it has different things. So this is a program, obviously this is fixed format, or it's some fixed format, some free format, but it doesn't matter. You can see what it does, the different colors over here. Now this is a very big program, a very, very big program. And this is probably more typical of a program that would be in production. This is a bigger program. Now, let's say you invite me into your shop and you want me to do some work on this program. Okay. Okay. And let's say I want to get some idea. I get some idea. So I know that this program has a lot. I see a lot of comments in this program. So I say, wow, we have a lot of comments. And you know as well as I do, when we see comments, they must be current. Yes? Of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to right click over here and go to filter and say, just show me the comments in this program. And now just the comments are showing, any line with a comment. And now I'm going to read all this and get some idea what's going on in this program. And I'm going to read all of them. And then somebody's going to tap me on the shoulder and say, Charlie, there's a problem. These comments go back to 1994. Okay, so, and that's it. Okay, so let me not rely on the comments. Let me do this instead. Let me do this. Let me right click again and go to filter, come over here. And I'm going to say, instead of showing me the comments, show me just the code and I'll figure it out myself. So now just the code gets shown. And this gives me a quick way to better understand what's going on in my program. You think that might be helpful? I think so. And that filter view works a lot of different ways. I can filter many different things. I can filter just my code, comments, control. What's control? Control is anything that has an end statement is a control statement. So if I have an if statement, I'll just show it to you. Control. There you go. A when, a select, things like that. Anything that has that. And I can always just press Control W, by the way, or I can just right click again and I can go back to filter and I can pick another thing or just say, or show all, Control W. I can go back to that and I see everything again. But it's a nice little, it's a nice way, especially if you have embedded SQL, because that's, I know a lot of programs are using SQL. Before, right? Show me just the SQL. This is a good program. We have a lot of SQL going on in here. So it's a nice, quick way to get some idea what's going on in the code. I think it's really great. One thing I didn't show you, and I think it's worth showing you now. So you may have heard, I heard it during the keynote this morning, that there's a relatively new feature called Self. Did you hear about that? Self? Anybody know what that is? You know what it is? You know what it is. Are you using Self? Yes. You want to tell us what it is?
Well, it's a very good idea of IBM to journal all the SQL errors in any kind of application. It's ACS,
Yep.
run SQL in ACS, or SQL application programs, or any other SQL instructions. And all the errors or the warning messages are logged into a specific file, which can be queried for any kind of analysis.
Yeah, so SQL error logging facility. SQL error logging facility, Self. And what's nice is that in code, they actually have given us access to that. We can look at it directly over here. So I'm back now in code, I'm back in the DB2 view over here, the extension. But notice that I have this over here. So I can look at it directly from code. I can see. And now, why is this important? This is important because right now I'm currently monitoring 2 different jobs. That's what I'm doing over here. I'm monitoring 2 different jobs. Sometimes SQL can be a little tricky to debug because sometimes it runs and doesn't give me any results, and things are happening in the log, but I don't have visibility. Now I have very good and easy visibility to what's going on in the log. So in the DB2 for I extension in code, there's a little window over here, and I just opened it up over here. And this is going to give me all the errors that are being logged now by SQL. And I can promise you that to learn about your programs that you may not even be aware of. So I encourage you to take a look about Self. It's a newer feature, and you started using it already? You using it in code?
No. We are I'm using it to buy SQL.
Okay, but now you can do it right, you can see it right from here too. And the nice thing about this is that there's a filter feature. You can see the filter right here. I can filter out to a particular job also and just track one individual job. And I should tell you that this works not only for things I'm doing over here, but it also works for embedded SQL and things like that. There's a lot of cool things that are going on with this. So I really encourage you to learn more about self. It's a lot of good information about self. That's my alarm. Okay. I'm going to show you one more thing. What I'm going to show you now is a quick little debug, because this is really cool. It's a cool feature. I have this program here called test debug. Let me show you what test debug looks like. Give it a second. Look at that. Okay. So this is an interesting program, test debug. What test debug does is it has 4 parameters that come in to my program. Here they are. Here's my procedure interface over here, my program interface. And all it's going to do is it takes parm1 and sets it to parm1, parm2, parm2, parm3, parm3. So what an exciting program this is, right? What an exciting program. I know it is. I'm going to do something pretty cool. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to right-click over here, and you can do this in VS Code as well. So first thing I'm going to do is create what's called a service entry point for this program. Service entry point. That means that the next time this program gets called, the next time, and if it matches this criteria, if it matches the library name and the username, basically this is a service job, is what it is. You recognize it's a service job. But it's easier because with a real traditional green screen service job, I have to know the job number and the job name. That's not the case. You have to know the library name, the program name, and the user ID. That's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to say OK over here. I come over here. I'll say OK. Whoops. Oh, this is from before. OK, I'm going to say continue. OK, so what I just did was I just sent a message up to my IBM I that's running in New York. And I just told it by clicking OK, the next time that program runs, let me say OK and I'll say what I'm talking about. Let me say OK. Whoops. Let me say OK over here. And this works the same way in VS Code, same way. It does the same exact thing. This is called a service entry point, which you can do in code as well. So it doesn't matter which one I show it to you in. But here's my little window, my view for my entry point. And it's telling me that the next time program test debug program, it can also be a service program. So program from this library, this user ID, the next time it runs, oh, and I also have it enabled. I can also disable it if I want. But next time I call with those 3 conditions, this will go into debug mode. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up my green screen. Feel better? You feel like you're home again? Is it comfortable? It's nice and cozy? Okay. Anybody feel that way? Okay. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, I may have it in there already. Let me see, add XML debug. It may be there already. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to call test debug. I'll prompt it. And I'm just going to pass it 4 parameters. Here's A, here's parameter 1, here's parameter 2, B, C, D. All right, so I'm passing 4 parameters, A, B, C, D. Not very exciting, I know. I get it. Okay, so I hit enter. Now look what's happening here. It's stuck. It's inhibited. Why is it inhibited? Because something's happening. And what's happening is there's something called the debug server that I activated on IBM I. There's a command called start debug server. And that's it. That's the command. There's no parameters. It's either start debug server or end debug server. And that has to be running to do any kind of debugging from a client. And that means if I'm doing RDI debugging or from VS Code debugging, that debug server has to be running already. Now, the nice thing about that debug server is you can turn it on directly from RDI or from VS Code. There's a very easy way to do that. Just right-click on it and say start, and the way it goes. Or you can put the command, which we do at some clients. We put the command start debug server in their startup job, and then it just runs. And you can have it run all day long, and it doesn't take any resources. You won't even, you'll see it, but it doesn't. It's fine. So you can let it run all day long. Let me go back to RDI because I'm going to show you what's happening over there. Okay, so in RDI case, now that the debug server has recognized that I now started a program with my library and my user ID, my name, and my program name, it woke up and it yelled down to RDI and said, okay, go into debug mode. And this is the same way in VS Code. Go into debug mode. So it's what this is asking me here in RDI is saying, I found a job that qualifies to be debugged. Do you want to now switch from this editing mode to the debug view? And I'm going to say yes. Now, if you want, which I'm not going to, I can check this box over here, and then this window will not pop up again. I always leave it unchecked so people can see. So the first time you do it, this window pops up. I'm just going to say yes. And now I'm in debug mode. And RDI, VS Code looks a little similar. Even though it doesn't look exactly the same, it has the same ideas. So whether I show it to you here or in code doesn't make a difference, because in a debugger, I'm going to have a step, obviously, a step into. Let me show you some of the things over here. And also, I have a variables view over here, and that's on top over here. What I'm going to do over here, let me move this down here.
You don't have to add breakpoints for it to stop on the program?
No, because there's no breakpoint necessary because I'm starting at the entry point.
Okay.
So at the entry point, it starts at the entry point. That's because that's actually what I'm debugging here is it's what I'm setting is a service entry point. It goes to the entry point. I can set it right there. All right, so now you notice that over here on the top of the screen, I have some debug instructions over here. And right now you see it says step over. It has step over. If you're using green screen debugger, when you press F10, if you're familiar with that, that's step over. And what all that basically means is step over means execute the instruction and then go to the next line. Versus step into, which is over here as well. Step into.
Step 20.
In debug, it's, what is it? F22, or people say Shift F10, Shift F10. Right. And what that does is if I just have X equals 1, Y equals 3, I can do step into or step over and it will do the same thing. The very big difference, though, is if I'm on an instruction, this works the same way in code and in RDI. If I'm on an instruction, and also in green screen, of course. If I'm on an instruction that's going to call a procedure or another program, external program, it will. If I say step over, it will actually do the call. This one. It'll do the call, run it, and come back. So let's say I have program A calling program B. If I'm in A right now, I say step over, it'll run program B and come back, and I go back. If I say step into, it'll actually bring up the source code for program B, and I can step through that program. That's step into, which is kind of nice. Both features, both of these applications, I have a question. If you're still doing green screen debugging, I have a question for you. If there are green screen debuggers here, you ready? Okay. I'm in program A in green screen. Now I do a step onto program B. Now I press I press F12 to return. What's going to happen when I do that?
If you don't have a breakpoint, it will go to the end of the program.
You said it. Perfect. And what he said, for those in the back, if you don't have a breakpoint set, the next instruction is going to just run and you're done. However, I can say here and also in code, step return. And step return, what that will do is it will finish running program B, go back to program A, and stop. No breakpoint necessary. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Sir, yes, sir. Get down and give me the. Okay, let me keep going. I want to say a couple more things, and then we're gonna. Then these hours go very quick. You ready? Watch. I'm going to press step over, and what you can see over here is already in this. And this works the same way in code. I have variables being shown over here. I can just simply come over here and see them. So here's parm1. You see it's A. Parm2 is B. You see it right there. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm just going to keep hitting F6 to step. And here you can see what's going through my code. It's there you go. Let me come down here so you can see it. And of course, it works the same way in VS Code. I can just put the mouse over it and it hovers, and it will show you the current value of that. Okay. Now, I know that this is probably the biggest program you've probably seen in a while, so I don't want to get you nervous.
I'm guessing the value tab is editable also. You can edit the values.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, now there's a reason why I showed you this very simple program. Because let's pretend now that this program was a real program, and let's even go further. Let's say we've actually taking this RPG program, let's say we call it a service program now, which is fine, and let's say we deployed it to IWS. We made an API out of it. Could be, right? It's very common. I hope it's common because it's a very powerful tool. And we put it out to production, and this API is getting a lot of activity. And we're told, somebody tells us, it works fine, but when we get this certain set of parameters, the program blows up. But I have it now as an API, and I want to debug it, but I only want to debug it under certain conditions, only when certain parameters equal something. How do I do that? I set what's called, I put a condition. This works the same in code. What I want to do is go back to this screen over here, and it works the same way in code. I'll come over here. It looks a little bit different in code, but it's the same idea. I can right-click on here, and watch what I'm going to do. A window pops up, and it's going to say Modify. Now, this screen pops up again. What does that mean? What that does is it gives me the chance to put a parameter in there and put a value, and only go into debug mode when that condition is met. For example, I called this program with 4 parameters, and I called it ABCD, and that was parm1, parm2, parm3, parm4. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put in parm. I'm going to say parm3 equals, I don't know, T. Oh, put that in quotes. T. Okay. Look what it did. Under this condition column over here, now it has parm3 equals T. Let me go back to my green screen. Here's my green screen. Here's my F9. So I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to call it again with 4 programs. I'm going to hit enter. Is it going to get stuck? No, it shouldn't. I hope not. It didn't. I can do this all day long. I can even do a lowercase t, but it's case sensitive, which makes perfect sense. Imagine the value of the power you have here till you have a deployed API, and you can just trap it for a certain customer or a certain item or a certain user or whatever. And this works not just as an API. I can do it, and from a menu option, if they do that. Capital T. All right, now Yep, there it goes. Look, now the debugger woke up and now it's right back. I'm right back to where I was before. And if I just cover it down here, look, I hover over Palm 3, there's my T. What do you think about that?
It's great.
Is it great?
Yes, it only works on entry data, I guess.
It only works on an entry, yeah.
Can you say if Palm 3 equals Palm 4, for example, or only with constant?
The question you're asking me is, can I have compound
Yes.
conditions? And the answer is, I can put in here Palm 1 equals X and Palm 3 equals T, and that will work.
Okay, okay. But can you say, for example, Palm 3 equals Palm 4, if I have those two values?
Oh, I've never tried
It's a
this.
silly question.
You know, I have to tell you something. I flew all the way from the United States to get here.
Yes.
And I came here with one condition. And the condition was no hard questions. And you have to make hard questions. So
It's a silly question.
it's not a great question, actually. We can try it. I mean, I don't know. But obviously I'm trying to watch the clock. We're kind of out of time. The whole idea of this 1 hour was just to give you a flavor. And by the way, gentlemen, sorry, you have a New York Knicks shirt on. Thank you very much. You got a basketball from my city on. Thank you. Did you go to New York? Oh, you just like the shirt. Okay. Okay. I want to give you a flavor that SCU is an outdated tool. It's green screen. It's a green screen tool. I'm going to go one more. You ready? It was announced, not SCU, but it was already announced that on 7.5, after 7.5, unsupported DFU, what? Yeah, unsupported. SDA, yeah, unsupported. RLU, unsupported. And a couple other things too. So IBM is finally saying, hey guys, this is it. We need to start moving. And the time is now. Actually, we're overdue. Because we are now in a world where our customers, and those are our users, our customers, expect things to be done quickly, and the pressure is on for us to deliver good working code. I'm going to talk later about refactoring. I'm going to show you some really cool things about refactoring, and RDI in particular has some interesting things to help you make your code read even better, some refactoring tools that I'll talk about. And a couple things also in VS Code. Like I give it a little flavor. One thing you can do in both of them is I can highlight a block of code and I can make a procedure out of it. Yeah, now why do I want to do that? Well, now I got a procedure. I can take that procedure and move it to a service program. Whoa, now it's getting interesting. Yeah, this is modern tools. This is the new world for us now. We're there. We are there. This machine is the best machine. I've been doing this machine my entire career. All I know is mid-range. And it's been a great run. It's a great machine. And I see this machine doing some incredible things. There are big customers using this machine. Big accounts where, as one customer told me in New York, this IBM, billions of dollars goes through this code every year. Billions of dollars. This machine is rock solid. You can imagine if that machine is down for a day, how much that's cost, but it doesn't go down. It's amazing. Hope this gave you a little flavor, and we'll see you at lunch, I think. Lunch. Good. Thank you. Very different. You want to enter it?
Very different.
Yeah,
or-
no, that works. That works the same. You can-
I'm using it basically.
Okay. And but the extension is published on both the VS Code Marketplace and on the VS Code Marketplace, which is hosted by Eclipse. But it works the same, exactly the same.
There you go.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let's put it. I don't use. I cannot tell from my point of view because we use VS Code and V and Visual Studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't find any plugin.
Extension.
Another extension.
Yeah. You can actually, well, it should be there, and certainly might have, but you can actually, you can download one at a time, but you really shouldn't do that because you can download the entire thing in one, well, you get all the extensions in one big piece.
And it's IBM code. No?
Code for IBM.
Code for IBM.
Code for IBM.
Is it open source?
It's called developer pack. You want the developer pack, and that gives you everything. It gives you the debug, it gives you the DB2, gives you the editing, everything I showed you here. You get all that, and that's in the marketplace. Yeah, I would encourage you to take a look at it. When is your session, Seb?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Hidden gems.
Yes.
Hidden gems. I don't even, he doesn't let me see them, so I don't even know what they are. They're hidden.
You showed some already.
I showed some.
Yeah.
That's okay. You got a million of them.
I do.
He's not, there's no worry. He's going to show you even more hidden ones, even better hidden. Better hidden. It's okay.
Can we store all skill procedure on RPG program and so on in IFS with VS Code and RDR?
The question was, can we have the code stored in the IFS? The answer is absolutely. And in fact, I would encourage you, if you're going to get into the world of Git, it's a requirement. Yeah, well, you should have it there anyway. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have some skill procedure.
Yeah.
We can install this procedure in number SQL.
Yeah, IFS is a good place to start going, because then you get rid of some of the constraints of the record length and everything else. You want to be, that's a nice, and actually, if you're going to go into the IFS, all of the compilers now have IFS support. You know, you can put a path, on the location to the source member instead of a source physical file. That's nice too. Many years, yeah, exactly. I'm not sure SDA has it, but
you will use the notification that on the end of the record.
I'm sorry.
If you are using your IFS instead of the file number,
Yeah.
you will lose the modification date on the end of the.
Okay, fair point. He's saying you're going to lose the modification date, but you're going to be using. But now you can use git diff, git diff, which has very powerful compare tools also, which I didn't show you, but git diff will take care of that for you if you get into the world of Git. So you don't need the dates.
But the IFS file has a modification date.
Yeah. No, every line number. I know he's saying every line has a date. Every line has a date. But if you're going to do that, you can use git diff. Maybe that's a hidden gem. I don't know. No pressure. Okay, but you can get there are ways around that. There are very few editors that have a date on every line.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's very useful. And this is the point for me. This is why I never switched to Git. It's one of the first reasons.
But git diff, the diff has actually it'll go one better with Git, because not only will it tell you the difference. There's something called git blame.
Yeah.
You know about git blame? Such an ugly term.
I'm trying to use it, but it's not the same. But it's useful. Yeah, it's useful.
I will also tell you that if in code, if you compare two members to each other, it does use git diff even in to compare. RDI has different compare, but git diff is used in the code. They'll show you the code. And actually, both of these editors will have another feature where you can compare the current. If I'm typing right now, and I didn't commit it to my disk yet, you can see the code that was changed. Let me show you. I want to be respectful of the vendors out there, so I don't want to. But let me show you one more thing, and then we'll just wrap this up. What's that? What'd you say? You can do this in code too. I'm still in RDI. Let me watch this real quick. It works a little bit different in code, but it's the same idea. I'm just gonna come over here and just change a couple letters over here. I'll do this. I'll come over here. I'm just gonna say RP. Yeah. Add a couple of lines of code. Blah 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 blah. And then in RDI's case, I can come to the bottom over here and type in the word compare. This is a hidden name of RDI. Compare. And watch what this is gonna do. Whoa, it works similar in code. So now what's red is what used to be there, and what's yellow is now the change line. This is really helpful because how many times have you been in a Word document or Excel, and you just look at it, you hit the X and it says, do you want to see the changes? Like, I didn't make any changes. Well, if you compare it, you can see what actually got
It
changed.
shows you all the changes that were made before the last step.
Before the commit back to the disk, yeah.
Yeah.
If I control S back to my disk, then it's gone.
That is the same thing with Git.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the RDI version. But but I'm just showing you this. There are ways to get, there's a lot of both of these editors are very powerful. This is why I say, people say, well, which one should I use? I say, well, they're both very powerful. And if you're already using RDI, there's nobody pushing you to VS Code, but at the same time, our code does do a lot of great things, though it's a strange time right now.
And I think the money is also
The money.
because the VS Code is for free.
That's completely true, and it's maintained by the open source community. Yes.
And I tried to migrate RDI 9.6 to 9.8.
Yeah.
And surprised, I need a new license.
I know. I work for IBM. I understand. Yeah, I understand.
VS Code for free.
But it makes a compelling case. It makes a compelling case, absolutely. The difference is if you have a lot of investment in RDI already with like third-party tools like that.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
not cheap.
Right, so there you go.
It is a book.
It's an interesting conversation. We're at a strange time right now, I think. Yeah.
So if you make the conversion right now from SEU to modernization.
Whatever you do, get off of SEU, please. Please. And there's another reason why. Not because it's a green screen. The big reason about SEU is it hasn't been updated since 6.1, 2004. 20 years. It doesn't know anything about free format. Nothing. Zero. You can't. There's no outline view. There's nothing. It's
difficult to change.
I understand. I made this. I listen. I programmed for many, many years. I made the switch. I do. Now, that being the case, seriously, if I have to change one line of code, I'll go into SEU. Why not? One line of code. But for everyday use, I think these editors are better. For quick and dirty changes, I have no problem with SEU. It's a command line, it's a CLI, command line editor. But to rely on it every day, I did a blog years ago, and I showed the hourly wage of a developer, and either with code for I or RDI, right out of the box, right out, you're getting a 20 to 30% increase in productivity. And I showed that to you because even like the outline view, this alone, the compare right here, in debug, I can see all my variables on one screen. That's wonderful. And what he's doing in green screen debugger, eval. I know the whole story. The what you say?
F11.
F11, yeah, same thing. So there's an immediate benefit to what you can get as a developer. I promise you. This is where you need to be. I promise you.